Right, so just a little talk about the link between mental health and addiction problems with people. Um, Massive thing for me was I knew for a long time I had mental health problems. I just didn't know exactly what it was, and I wasn't fully ready to accept it. Now, once I was ready to accept it, and I did accept it, it's had a massive impact on my life, and my life's changed dramatically. Uh, so if there's anyone listening to this who knows anyone who suffers with addiction, has got addiction problems, or maybe has had addiction problems in the past, um, you know, if you don't realise or if they don't realise that it's related to mental health, like there's a lot of stigma around mental health, but there's also a lot of stigma around addiction, and what a lot of loved ones or friends or people in general don't realise that anyone who's suffering with any form of addiction, they're in the midst of a mental health crisis, because 99% of the time when someone falls into addiction, it's through they're trying to self-medicate because they can't deal with what's going on in their life for one reason or another, and a lot of the time it's they can't deal with what's going on in their head, the constant noise, the constant chatter, which is the ego. And in addiction treatment, in recovery, that's what it's about. It's about identifying that when you're running on free will, which is what people are doing when they're in the midst of an addiction, they're running on free will. That free will is the ego. You've just given it the green light to just go and fucking run rampage, run amok with your life, and it'll just destroy you and anyone close to you. So it's all related, really. A lot of this stuff in the power, and now for me, what it's talking about, what he's talking about, Eckhart Tolle, is it's mental illness. Anyone who's trapped in the ego, whether you're in addiction or not, many people are in addiction but just don't realise it. You might be addicted to shopping, addicted to designer clothes, addicted to the gym, addicted to food, addicted to sex, but the functioning addicts, they manage to live with it, but it doesn't take anything away from the fact that that these things are addictions, and they just dominate people's lives, and these things rule them, rule their life. So in a sense, they think they're in control, but they're not, because their ego's just running amok and having a laugh and having them off. So what I'm trying to say really is, try and be more understanding. If anyone listening to this who knows anybody, whether it's a close loved one, a friend, a next door neighbour, a work colleague, who they think or they know is suffering with addiction problems, try, if they haven't already, if you're someone who wants to try and help them and try and talk to them, you could try and come from an angle of, let's deal with your mental health, because it is a mental health issue. Mental health problems lead to addiction problems, and that's the way it goes. And the addiction is it's the medication. it's self-medicating, which works in the instant moments, but then, you know, that becomes a problem too, which makes the matter twice as bad. It makes everything 10 times worse. So just try and have empathy for anyone, you know, anyone that's suffering with addiction. You know, if you see people in town begging, you know, I used to be full on in addiction myself, you know, at times in quite bad addiction, but I was always functioning. A lot of the time people didn't know with me, because I could get up in the morning, get a shower and get dressed, and I just blended in. I blended in like everybody else most of the time, you know, and I'd walk past, I'd be in town, you know, because I was out going shopping, walking past someone begging in town, and because I had shopping bags in my hand, I looked down on them. I didn't think I was anything like them, but it was exactly the same. They just hit their rock bottom, and their mental health problems were obviously worse than mine at the time. What I'm trying to say is, when you see people begging on the streets, or you see people that are in a real mess with addiction, you know, if you think about it like this, no one in the right mind would be doing that, would they? Anyone who was well and not unwell, never in a million years, you wouldn't dream of sitting there. You wouldn't dream of letting your life get like that if you were a well person. So just, you know, try and have empathy for these people, or whether it's your friends, you know, one of your family, your neighbour, your partner, whoever. Just, you know, don't give up on them. Just don't give up on them, because it's really bloody difficult when you're stuck, when you're in the midst of it. It's such a hard cycle to break, because it's easy to take the easy option all the time, which is to go and use drugs or buy alcohol or whatever it is. You know, that your thing is, it's all readily available to us all, so it's a really, really hard thing. So I hope you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Sorry for waffling on, and thanks for watching once again. Bye.